Good evening. I'd like to call property management committee to order. First order of business, approve minutes. Motion to effect.
Motion to approve the minutes,
Got
Mr.
a
Chairman.
motion? Second. Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. First thing on the agenda, report on renovation of old judicial building.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I took the instruction of the last meeting from this committee and went and approached the PBA with Mr. Picklesheimer and the rest of his committee, and they have accepted the job. They meet again next week, but I believe they have accepted to take on the job of the renovation of the old judicial building. There was some concern from IT. Brian had some concern about the air ducts, and I believe that Mr. Manning's here tonight, and he contacted a company that they have a machine that can actually go into the air ducts and clean those. So he felt much better about that. I think it was Service Master. Is that right?
That's who we
Service
talked to a
Master.
couple of them.
Yeah, there's a couple of companies that do that. They can go in and clean those air ducts, and probably it needs to be done anyway since the building was built back in the 80s. But the PBA felt like that they could do it for the amount of money from the motion that Commissioner Dodd made. I think it was 1.285. They felt like that they could.
It was two.
I'm sorry.
Was it 2 million?
2 million.
Yeah.
Two.
Sorry, I wish it was.
So anyway, they felt like that they could do it for the amount of money, and because basically we're just doing the first floor for probation, and the fourth and fifth floor for IT. Nothing to go into the third and fourth. Now Ben has had 2 open dumpsters, and he had some inmates out there working this past week, and some of his workers emptying out and hauling out a lot because it was just last April. It was just everybody vacated and left behind whatever they didn't want. So he's been over there cleaning up for the last week or so, right?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it's going to give everybody a little bit cleaner building to go into because there was broken chairs and tables and everything else in there. So I would assume that the PBA will probably, at this next meeting next week, they'll go ahead and put it together and start moving forward, put the bids out on a design build type program. Both design build contractors were here that are on the PBA, Dal Smith and Blake Smith. They were both here and both felt confident for that number that could be done, because all we're basically doing is new paint and carpet. We're not moving any structure of windows or anything. The most expensive part will be putting in the handicap accessible bathrooms on all 5 floors, and they'll bank them all the way down using the same structure of the pipes and plumbing. So that'll be the most expensive part of the entire building. And so start moving forward on that. Any questions?
Are the elevators about the same, or any upgradation on that?
Well, I think, and we talked about that at the last meeting here, is to upgrade those elevators, right, Ben?
Yes. Okay.
And
We had 325,000 in that, 350,000 in that number.
allocated.
Just, yeah, kind of loosely pushed to the elevators, 175 each.
175 per car.
Yeah. And Ben had talked to
Nashville Machines.
National Machines.
Yes, sir.
They think that we just need to replace the whole car, right?
Upgrade the cars, different, kind of a different mechanism, track system.
Make them faster.
So you won't hear no spooky sounds.
Speaking it up.
We'll see.
Well, better than one we used to have downstairs. Remember on the other side, Ms. Rooker got trapped in there, she beat with her high heel shoe. Remember that door? Was it door or Nanny? I think it was Nanny.
Yeah.
That got caught in there. Coming
Got
up.
caught in there.
That was a long time ago.
I
Okay.
have something to add to that.
Yes, sir.
This may be a way to segue, or we can just of course, we can't act on this, but the PBA did mention that Mr. Jerry Preston with Pinnacle
Yes.
has ceased his
He's terminated.
task. So we have no construction management. There's no
Yeah.
owner's rep.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. The PBA, we were going to look for one since he had terminated his relationship. He was ready to retire. And he's just going to kind of hang out in Nashville and not make the trip because he did an excellent job on the new judicial building. And so I contacted him. I talked to Lisa in finance, and I talked to Mike, and I said that nobody else knows that building better than Mr. Mankin. I mean, he knows it inside and out, and if we could pay him an additional amount on top of his regular salary to oversee that process during the construction or remodeling phase, repurposing phase of that, and Lisa agreed to it, and it's just going to maybe he'll have to pay more taxes, you know, but he does know that he knows what's behind the walls, he knows what's up on the ceilings, and you know, so we have somebody built in and with Ben overseeing that project, and so that's who Mike is going to make that announcement next week of them working with Ben. And Ben, I was questioning Ben whether or not that he could do that, making sure that, and I believe that you have Rob is now elevated since he came in and can make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. That was my biggest concern of him taking time out. But it's right downtown. He's down here all the time, and it'd be no different than you and I building a house. You go out there in the morning, you go at lunch, and you go in the afternoon just to see what the guys are doing. Right? And you're 5 minutes away if any changes need to be made. You can come and oversee that. So he'll be our eyes and ears representing the commission.
So he feels comfortable taking on that task?
I've got a new assistant director that he started last fall, and he's
Stepped up.
He's stepped up and is competent to handle the day-to-day back at his job, so I feel okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions? Not parking, study update. These, come up here.
Lisa's here, and Steve, if you want to go first, and then Lisa's got some things she wants to share as well about by putting the officer down there, if you'd share that with the committee as well.
Sure. It's really not much to say. Mr. Murphy, actually, he made his recommendation that we need to add the 2 floors on to the parking garage, so that wasn't any new surprises right there. Didn't feel really comfortable about the whole study itself because I really wanted more out of that study as far as the surrounding streets of 319 and the judicial building itself, and we didn't get that really. But they did make some alternative statements, you know, of segregating some for employees out there. So I think we got about 80 if everybody's at work at one time at 319, that we could segregate the part of the parking area out there for employees only, and label those with signs as well as painted on for the parking spots and for the space as far as a little sign if we want to do that or what. But I've contacted him a couple times already since last month's meeting to, you know, how much are those, or do we get them through the highway department, or we order those, and we don't have any new information basically as of this point. So
What about employees having a sticker for their car?
they've kind of implemented something like that, and y'all can attest to that. I think
Personally, I think that'd be good. I know years ago, I had a sticker for my car parking.
not everybody is really wanting to put those in their car.
What we currently have, excuse me, we currently have a placard, like you would see for a handicap placard. My office has blue placards. Your office has white. Rob Mitchell's has red. So it designates, even if you don't know the color system, it says on each placard which office that vehicle belongs to. And I hang mine on my rear view mirror. And the majority of people do. You know, you got some that doesn't want to do that, but I think as time is going on, they're starting to catch on to what we're trying to accomplish, and they're becoming a little bit more accommodating on trying to hang those placards. But it's a way of identifying who's supposed to be there, and it seems to be working pretty well.
And the
That-
placards are probably a little better anyway, stickers in case they drive a different car.
Yeah, that's what I started saying, that's good for changing cars.
Right.
And it serves a dual
Vehicles.
purpose, actually, because each placard is numbered, and each office knows which placard goes to which employee. So if there was a disaster or something, or a car left, we can actually identify whose vehicle that's supposed to, who belongs to that vehicle. So it's a dual purpose, and and I like the idea you can put it to whichever vehicle that they're driving.
But it doesn't really prevent somebody from parking in a certain spot, as in if you mark the spot as employee parking only, it doesn't accomplish that.
You know that they're
supposed to be
other
there.
than an employee.
Right. You still would have to have someone to police to say, this is not an employee. You must-
I hate to say it, but we might have to go to that.
Yeah.
But as far as the placard, that's the answer to that, and we currently we have that in place. But
Can you refresh my memory especially? There was some area about in the garage. I guess maybe this was the garage.
It was in the garage,
Where they
16
can
extra.
add some parking.
There were 16 extra spaces in there that we could do some restriping
Right.
and pick up those amount of space, 14 to 16. I think it was 16 spots. But we haven't started anything with that because we're actually trying to get started to doing another level,
Yeah.
you know, getting that started. But we can get started on that as well. I mean, that'll pick up a few of them.
Would the committee like for us to, and you get that high pressure washer,
We can take your
take those stripes off, and
I'd like for us to go forward.
we can go ahead and do that
We'll
without,
move on those 16 spaces.
Yeah.
yeah, have to give us 16 more.
Yeah, we can do that in-house. Okay, any other?
Who laid that out?
Lisa,
Will we have to have somebody lay out those stripes to make sure we don't have any?
I'm not familiar
think
with
you would
where
be
he's
necessarily-
marked them, right?
Yeah, we'd have to get
You may have to
somebody
get
to do
a
that.
civil engineer, somebody to,
sure.
do we need to,
What?
I mean,
It's been a while since I've been down there, but usually the ones that are marked, they have crisscrosses.
They're striped. I'm just
Striped.
not familiar with which ones he's
So you may want to look at those,
picked
but
out.
those are the ones that just look at them, make sure that somebody's not going to wreck their car.
get their toe into that. I don't know if anybody's qualified for that. I just-
Sure.
Well, maybe we can pull somebody and ask the road board.
That's what I was
Then
thinking,
those
get the highway
person.
department
Yeah.
involved, see if we can.
That may got, that probably help us out.
And what about, are we close to making some decisions on signage in y'all's parking lot?
Well, I'd like to discuss that with you.
Come on up.
Yeah. Well, last month we discussed having employee parking, designated employee in parking at 319. And it's like you said, we have approximately 80 when we're full house. And, you know, we have the area right there beside the drive-through, my drive-through window area. Then the outer perimeter of the parking lot, if they could just designate and paint or on the asphalt or signage, however, reserved employee parking on that 80, I feel like that's going to help a lot. I
Only
don't know
one
that we
thing-
would need a study on that part, do you?
No, we don't, no. We don't need a study on it, it's just whether we're gonna do it or not.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned, Mr. Chairman, about getting employees closer to the building.
You need to
But
be closer.
what was looked at was the, like she was talking about, the area, I think is like 36. I actually have that plan in my file downstairs, but it's, I think 36 around that area, that little square. And then on all the outer edge, out by Rover, all the way back down to where they tore the house down across the street to that corner, is your 80 spots. Now, there's just a few more right there, so it would actually take that corner all the way around the outside perimeter, back around to get those 80 spots. So your inside of the islands would then be for customers. And you've got another 40-something spots, I think, left for customers.
Not
So-
bad.
No, and it would still,
But it doesn't get your employees closer to the building, though. I mean, it just, matter
They
of fact,
get
it
them in
keeps them
like
to
a
the,
secluded area though.
but it would keep them together.
Yeah, that's
yeah, it keeps them together. Yeah,
Yeah, it would keep,
Not bad.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else we could do as far, I think it's a great plan, and I'd like to see us be able to move forward with that. I don't know if Ben can do the painting, or if that has to be hired out. I'm not sure.
We can check with the highway department
Check
on
with
Highway
that.
Department,
See.
they
Okay.
can
If we can
make
get the
signs.
placards,
They can make
and that's
signs
a
also.
cheaper deal, and it looks like your 1 hour parking or your 2 hour parking, that's up here on the square, and we can label that onto the concrete. That might be a quicker and easier, better format right there. If not, then we're painting on the pavement. And I don't know if we're scheduled to reseal this year or not. I don't know.
It could, within the next 2 years anyway, so we
Okay.
could go ahead and.
So it might be better to do the placards up there if we can get those made in.
Are you saying just put it on the asphalt?
No, the placard would be in the
Curb.
front, like your 1 hour parking or 2 hour parking around the square would be.
Oh, the signage.
Yes, the
Curb.
signage.
Curb.
But when you go to pull in that spot, you would see it, oh, this is employee only. I need to back out. And then I think a combination of that with your deputy that's over there, or your security guard person, traffic control, whatever you say,
Yeah.
that would,
And as far as the parking lot, at one time, we had discussed maybe different options of, if one could be designated an entrance and one be designated an exit.
Come off of Walnut and exit onto Maple.
Yes.
Yeah.
I-
It really is a security, safety thing, I think. When people are flying down Maple, and they're coming through that light, but somebody's pulling out and somebody's crossing on the sidewalk, the near misses I've seen right there are just daily. Because
So we could put up 2 do not enter signs coming in off of
of Maple, yeah, that is really not a good entrance. Now that you put the judicial building there and the traffic has increased and the walking traffic has increased.
pedestrian traffic.
Yeah, it's really dangerous. And we added that other entrance in front of the road, so that gives an entrance exit. And then, of course, the car, where they have the drive-through, that's better as an entrance, not an exit. When you try to get, it's a narrow place, and if you try to get a car entering and exiting at the same time, somebody's got to go up on the curb. There's, and it blocks traffic. So that's better as only an entrance only and no one exiting out of it, to be honest.
I think
Makes sense.
So
the
it-
highway department can look at that, can't they?
We can ask them.
Well, that was actually direct question to the traffic study. And
They didn't do it.
verbally, in here last month, they, well, you could do that, but it wasn't in their study. It didn't actually come through as what we paid for.
I've studied it daily. I'm telling you, this is what I need to
We got a
tell
lot
you.
of money digging in there.
Well, that was
I'm no
one, yeah.
expert, but I
Yeah.
Well, I think I thought the scope of the traffic study described things that were in it. I'm pushing back on this a little. If there's something missing, then we need to get it. You're telling me you're disparaging this guy and saying there's stuff missing. Let's get
Well,
it.
no, I asked about it as far as shutting off that Maple Street side, if we could just have an enter only or
Right.
exit only. And that didn't come
I thought the scope
through
of work
the
was accomplished.
That didn't come through the scope of the final outcome.
No, we-
Basically, the whole thing was, we need another floor for sure to get our 15%, and then of non-parking spaces acquired. And then if we did another floor, then of course that was for growth.
So when we first met with him, we met with him on several occasions, and we told him we wanted to look at all the streets entering and exiting, parking garage, their parking lot, et cetera, as far as flow was concerned. And we mentioned coming off of
Even all the way up to the health building.
exiting only onto Maple, or do
Right.
not enter from Maple, et cetera. And Jerry just kind of, acted like, well, I forgot.
Well, the scope we approved, we had a scope, and we approved it. If the scope we received and approved was not what y'all requested, we had a disconnect between your request of Jerry, and we all saw that scope, didn't we? And approved it, and then Murphy did it, and we received it, and if we're not getting what we asked for, then we didn't create a scope that was correct, or we approved a scope that was incorrect.
Yeah.
It's discouraging to hear we didn't get let's just be careful what we're
Sure. What do you all recall
Saying and-
the scope was?
Yeah.
We can go back and look in a minute.
I just thought the scope,
That was
it
not
met
my-
the scope, and
Well, that was not my recollection, Commissioner. I thought the scope encompassed the other streets,
Yeah.
and I was disappointed when.
I thought it encompassed the one parking lot, like the health department, 319, and the garage.
The garage.
So if it encompassed more, then by all means, let's get him to tell us which. I can't assume that a register of deeds can dictate a traffic flow. I know the anecdotes are very valuable, but I would be cautious of us having a do not enter with no engineering input or experience.
Sure.
Just,
Well, that was my point when we did the study, is that I can do these things, or we can do these things,
yeah,
but I'm not a traffic engineer.
correct.
And so, I think these things will help, and we need to do these things. But basically what come out of the study is that we need another level on the parking garage,
Okay.
which we know that.
And paid over $8,000 to know what we already knew.
Yeah.
Well,
So I
what
was
I'm saying-
disappointed.
what I'm saying is-
I was disappointed in the
Yeah.
scope of what they did from what we told them. We met with them in my office, we met with them up here.
I thought we were going to get more out of the study than what we did, but I myself like third party looking at it, the highway department. I know they got the expertise out there, and I know they
That's a
know
engineer.
about the studies and all this good stuff. So we will have another set of eyes looking at what we're doing compared to what he recommended. Because basically speaking, all we got out of him was future. We didn't get nothing from basically current to address this problem right now. So
I'll
if
be
you want to
glad
be
to-
included in it, fine, but we need that highway department working.
I'll be glad if it's okay with this committee and the mayor and y'all at 319 to follow through with this right here and get with the highway department, with our road superintendent, Mr. Brooks, and talk to him about the placards, go over there with him, talk to him about it. I would be hesitant to shut that down right now as far as enter only, exit only, and let's see how the placard thing goes and works, and that might take care of the issue.
I think where some of the disconnect came from is that Jerry was getting down to the end of what monies were left in the judicial building, and he encompassed the parking garage as part of those dollars that he spent for the parking study.
Yeah.
And that's where he charged it back for us to sign off on, to pay him.
Yeah,
out
that's
of
where
it.
we paid out of it.
Yeah, some of the money's out of the parking study as opposed to encompassing
Yeah.
the whole congested area, because the judicial building is what caused the problems that we're having right now. And so there was a disconnect somewhere that I feel like that we didn't make it clear enough to Jerry to tell Mr. Murphy.
We, since then, have had a commitment from the, is it called the senior judge, of maybe moving those 2 days, which is very jury
Grand
day,
jury,
when they're picking the jury.
grand jury.
And I think there's about 150, 200 people that come in on that day.
So he was gonna move it to 1 o'clock instead of,
Move it after lunch to where
Oh, okay.
That
this
would
is done,
definitely
gone
help.
through, and then you can come in and pick it. So I think it's
Big deal.
yeah, it's a very big deal, I thought. So if they do that,
Could that
Everybody
save
seems
us
to
a
be-
level?
everybody came at the same time, and he said, I don't think it'd be a problem. We just need to follow up with the judge, to make sure that he's gonna do that. Okay, but he did commit to us, week before last.
Good news.
Has security already started?
Yes, and it's
Not
it
good.
has solved our situation. It has, and you know, it's basically he's out there for instruction and information and just letting the people know, and it's gone better than I ever expected, and a lot of people just didn't realize what they were doing or where to park, and it's worked better than I thought it would, and I hope it can continue somehow, some way. From my budget, I have it through May, and then I'll have to do something for June, and hopefully it can continue on after that.
Well, that was my next concern was, you know, we are doing this temporarily. I don't want us to go and say, you know, 4 years from now, we're still doing this. I don't know, should we put a timeline to go back and look at this? 'Cause I think we're paying time and a half for overtime anyway.
And it's on an average of 30.
I know it's worth it. but,
It is
you know,
worth
we can't-
every penny of it, simply because the people that need to come to 319 now has a place to park when they come to 319. The people that need to park in the parking garage, they don't seem to mind once they know where to go and park. And that's worked great. And then on the flip side of that, there was so much congestion in that parking lot at 319. People were parking up on the curbs. They couldn't get out. They were just parking in behind other cars. There were almost fist fights in the parking lot. I can go on and on and on. So it's taken care of all those problems. And I don't know how long we need that, but until there's a better plan in place, I hope it continues.
There's also fewer people hanging in our building
Oh, yes.
because they're not parking in our lot. They're also not hanging in our lobby, which means fewer yelling matches outside in the hallways, you know, and things that are happening.
Honestly,
We have,
it's
you know, no
convenient, so-
security in the building, so it's kind of provided security for inside the building by
Well.
keeping it away from the building, if that makes
I
sense.
just want that to always stay on our agenda, that our security are problems out there, but I don't want us to be paying a lot for security. You know, I don't want to forget about it and let it keep on going for years.
So
Until we
Lisa, is this
look
a
into it.
deputy?
It is.
Okay.
It's an off-duty deputy. They do it on a monthly schedule. They send it to my office so that we know what deputy will be there with us. He comes in at 11:30 every day. We sign off on it. We send it over there, and it has worked great. It's like Heather said, it provides security as well, in a sense. I mean, the parking situation is not a real problem anymore. But it also gives the appearance, we now have some security over there. And I've been told repeatedly, we need security though, over there. So it's worked both ways.
You're about to share, I'm sorry, Mr.
No.
But
Go ahead.
You were about to share how much you were budgeting, but what were you about to say?
On an average, it depends on what the salary of that deputy is currently making. But on an average, it's $37 an hour. So it could be up to $37 an hour, let me put it that way.
And how many hours?
And you looked at,
It's from 7:30 to 11:30.
how much did you budget for the remainder of the fiscal year? I thought you had a budget you shared with us.
I did, and
I forgot too.
I didn't bring it with me. I
But
apologize.
37 an hour average for a few hours a day.
Yes, 4 hours a day.
4 hours a day.
We can look at her budget or as we go on budget before, within the next 30 days.
Well, don't get me wrong, I'm all for it.
No, but we just need to be prepared, because if it quits,
Right.
because she's only gonna pay through May, and if it quits and it diverses back to where it was,
Yeah.
which it probably will, then we need to have some alternative. If it's working, then maybe we can find somebody at a cheaper rate. I don't know.
5 days a week.
Uh-huh. Monday through Friday.
40.
So,
Well, right now, what direction you need from this committee to help alleviate some of these situations?
I'm just going to jump in and with the highway department tomorrow and have them come over whenever they can. If they can come over tomorrow, great. If not, we'll meet sometime next week.
Okay.
Get with the folks over at 319 and make sure we're on the right path and move forward.
We have a road board meeting the 6th of May.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to that effect since you chairman of the road board?
Yeah, let's do it.
You know,
Put some teeth in it.
Right,
I'll make that motion.
okay. Got a motion?
second.
Second. Everybody understand what we discussed?
6th,
Everybody understand the
7
motion?
o'clock.
Any questions on the motion?
The motion is to,
Proceed forward.
with striping and placards for employees only around the
Yes.
perimeter.
Be what we talked about as far as the inside of the parking garage, picking up those spaces, placards for
Okay.
the parking spots for 80 personnel, employees over there. And then, but not do anything yet on the,
Are we gonna ask his opinion though on
Yes.
the road,
Yes.
on the entrances, exits?
and if we need to do any additional striping on the parking lot itself, we may need to do that too. Maybe where you come in or exit out or something for employees only, that they can see that before they go into those parking spaces to see if there's a parking spot. It's employees only, and a sign maybe, so.
To kind of expedite matters, you might go ahead and contact Cotton down
Okay.
at the highway department and kind of give him a heads up. And
Actually, they're not there tomorrow, so it'd be Monday, yeah.
On the
there
placards,
you
and move forward on the placards. Okay, do you want the motion to include
Plaques for the
proceeding for
cars.
16 additional spaces?
Yeah,
in
they
the
already doing
garage?
that.
Yeah.
Red
How
light
far
balloons.
does that go? Is that just gather more advice, or is that to do some work?
Because they're a bit cost, probably,
And do
to
the
these
work.
placards, but highway department can do them.
Okay, what about advice on the entrance and exits?
Just advice on.
You got the courthouse here, the meters and so forth, hours. What would happen if they checked over there, say twice a day?
Does anyone, anybody want to hear this motion again? Go ahead and read it again.
Direct Deputy to the Mayor Sandlin to meet with the Highway Department on the placards and move forward with the same. Also proceed with the 16 additional spaces in the garage, including doing the work to get it done, and to gather advice on the entrance and exit of the Clerk's Building parking lot.
That's good. Good.
Okay. Any more discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor? Motion carries. Good. Thank you. Don't leave,
No, you said that, yeah, but don't leave the,
don't leave, we got more for you.
yeah, don't leave the.
Okay, next on the agenda, update on archives building.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should have on your tablet the email that we got from Mr. Klein, Bart Klein, the architect from Klein Sweeney Associates. Says we have received back, and Mr. Lowell's here, if he may have some information, but it says we received comments back from planning today. They are good with the exterior of the building. We had some concern, if you remember last month, we had some concern over the design. They wanted to make sure that it looked good because they're going to try to start redoing that whole downtown section, that older section. It says we do not show them how we are screening the HVAC units on the roof. Also, we're tracking June 5th for receiving approval from planning. We are planning on going out to bid to the contractors either a little before or after, or a week after. We're finalizing the schedule due to receiving planning schedule for approval and we should have that to you by Friday this week, which will be tomorrow. We'll have that information, but so everything's a go, PBA's a go, and once they get the green light from the city, I think everything's good. John, you have any other comments?
No, I got rough estimates back today. I don't know if this is part of the discussion on shelving. The low end is 140,000. The extreme Cadillac high end is 640,000.
I like the low end.
I like the low end, and we can make that work
Used
for a
to
long
always the
time.
low end work go way up to a Cadillac.
Yeah. How much you say it was?
140,000 even. That's
What about the roller over in the old judicial building?
we're working on that right now.
And do you have room for that?
That's what we're working to 100% make sure we do. No, actually go into current space, not future
Yeah.
space.
Up on the fourth floor, there's one of those roller accordion type filing cabinets that's there. I know it would take, you roll it and it collapses, and it expands. I know it takes some time to disassemble it, but Ben says that it was disassembled when it went in, so I guess it can be disassembled coming out if you keep hold of all the screws and bolts.
Just say you got that low end price, you can work with that low.
Yes.
You're getting what you need for that
Yeah,
low end.
what we're talking about is the very low end is static shelving that doesn't move, but a lot of it, which is going to last a long time.
Okay.
The high end is the nice mobile shelving that will need 15 plus years out from now.
Right.
So, and that's the same way we did the current building. We started with static, years later we came in with mobile. And you take the static and put it onto the mobile units, so we're not wasting money. We reuse them moving
I
forward.
like the low end price, I just want to make sure you're getting what you need.
Yeah, it's exactly what we
Okay.
need, and we can work with that for a long time. And then somewhere way down the road, we come back with mobile shelving when as needed, but we don't necessarily need it day one, so. But we wanted to at least see what the numbers were, just to know.
Okay. Can I get a motion to that effect on
So
the
moved.
low end shelving? Price of
140,000.
140.
Got a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a second. Any more discussion? Not call the roll.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes. Okay. And then we'll go to budget. Okay. Next on the agenda, update on renting office space and new office building on Fortress Boulevard.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, you should have the, we just got it in first part of this week. You should have the quote. It should be 3 pages that came in from Klein Sweeney. Talked to Bart. You'll see it's right at 19,900 square feet with the 2 drive aisles for the county clerk with an estimated construction cost of $165 per square foot. It'll be built on, the site includes paving, curb cuts, utilities, landscaping. The estimate's based on disturbing a total of 3.5 acres for the proposed building. Let's see all the preliminary costs, geotech, data for phones by the county, fixtures and furnitures by the county. There's no dollar amount in here. That will be done at a later point in time. I did have Commissioner Long came down 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks.
I guess, came down and we took him to lunch, and then we went out and looked at the current facility that he has out on for the DMV and driver testing facility on Middle Tennessee Boulevard, if you know where that is, on that dead end. He was kind of appalled that 2 people can't pass in the same hall when you first come in. You gotta suck it in and turn sideways to go through. There's just a bad design building. And of course the state troopers, there are Paul, do you remember how many troopers he has in the back? 9?
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think there's a total of facilities in the back for the state troopers that they use in that building. So then we left there and went out to the property for this proposed building on the corner of Blaze and Fortress out by the Blackman Middle and High Schools. And put an eyeball on it. He and his Deputy Commissioner Terry Ash both liked it, shook my hand and said, we're in, you count us in, just get us the MOU. We were waiting on the MOU and it should be to us, Mr. Sandlin, when?
They're looking at it tonight.
Okay.
City Council.
Yeah, City Council, it's on City Council, that's correct. City Council's bringing it up tonight to direct their attorneys to get us the MOU, which is going to be similar to what we're doing with Rockville. They're going to lease us the property for $1 a year for 99 years or however long it is. And then we'll take our attorney, Nick Christensen, as soon as he gets his hands on the MOU from the city, then we'll get it to him, and then he'll create and craft the MOU going to the Department of Safety for their attorneys to sign off on. We'll be on our way. After that, we'll bring it back to this committee once that's done, and then we'll start that procedure.
It's going to be a win-win situation because what I was impressed with Commissioner Long, and I think you were too, Mayor, he was ready to sign any kind of papers that you needed to get it done.
If I had it that day, you would have signed it.
He was signed it, I think, 'cause
Well,
he was that enthusiastic.
Yeah, and the preliminary design had some when the solid line, it was a fragmented line for an addition. First they were looking at 12,000 or 14,000 square feet, and he said, let us go ahead and take the rest of that. That was for future expansion, because he wants to go in and put in the driver testing facility. So that's what bumps it up to the 19. And he said, so what are you going to charge me per rent? And I said, we're not going to mess over the state. That's not the way we do business, and we wouldn't expect them to do us that way either. We'll charge them, and I told him that we'll charge him whatever Class A office space is going for in this zip code. So, and he said that's fair. So for his, you wanted 5,000 square feet, is that correct? Okay. And so we'll subtract that for he gets his 14, and
It'll be so convenient for everybody concerned with the highway patrol offices and everything else, driver license and everything,
Yeah.
So
He got excited about it, and he said, right here with the high school, they can come right here and take their driver's test, Mom and Dad pick them up, we'll get their driver's license. And it's very convenient for the THP because it's such a short distance to hit the interstate or
Right.
zip to hit 96, whichever direction those guys are in an emergency situation.
This has the clerk at 5,900 square feet, 5,900.
Okay.
To come up to 19.9, are we good with?
Didn't it say plus or minus square feet? Okay.
that was including, the expansion for
Yeah.
the driver's license
That's
examining.
5250 is the expansion. They wanted 8750 was the original office for the state, and Lisa had 5,900. That equals 19.9. I just heard you say 5,000. I just want
Okay.
to make
so
sure
I
we're
was-
kind of going right.
Sure. Well, you're more correct than I am, so I was close. But
Okay.
I slid by on the plus or minus right after that number.
Oh,
So-
perfect.
So I'll work with you on the 900 on the plus side.
So all parties are in agreement.
That is.
That's the way we need to go.
Okay with that.
So good. Okay, we'll be looking back, I guess, that information coming back to us next month.
Yes, sir. As soon as we get those MOUs done, we'll be moving forward.
Okay.
And I believe the PBA will probably want the PBA to do that as well.
Do we do anything with this design?
Not at this point, no, sir. Just for your information. We'll come back with that same information.
Full speed ahead, right?
Yeah. The main thing is just the language and both parties signing off on it, because actually it's a lease from the city to us, and then it's a sublease from us to the state. But at least we've got the state paying for you know, more than half of the cost of the building.
Okay. Next on the agenda, replacing roof on community care agreement, Bridges
Yeah.
Associates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, as you know, as by the position of the county mayor serves as the chairman of the community care nursing facility that we have here in the county, which Commissioner Cook sits on that board with me. At the last meeting, Ms. Terry out there told us that we needed a new roof. And so I came back, I told Ben, go out and take a look at it, and he's gotten Mr. Rinks and Associates to go out and look at the roof. He's gonna go back out and look at it one more time. Also, I saw Terry at lunch, Ben, and over at Puckett's, and she said that their former maintenance guy made a comment that he called her and said, I heard you all are thinking about a new roof, and said the last time we put a roof on was, it's within the 25-year warranty, and they were going to try to look that up, so that may be something to be aware of. But also, I'd like to announce that as of yesterday afternoon, we had applied for the Christie Houston grant. And Christie Houston, you know, as you know, they've participated in helping us renovate one of the wings out there in the past. And they now require matching funds by whatever 501c3 that requests the money. And fortunately, we have been very frugal in the past, you know, they were doing it before I got here. So we do have the money in the bank, and I think that was very appealing to Christie Houston board. And they called us yesterday and awarded us the money. And I think the total job on the renovations is right at $1 million. So they're going to kick in 5, we'll kick in 5 and upgrade that. We're 4.5 stars, and I think this new, that's the rating system. Top is 5. I think with this new renovation for the oldest section of the nursing home, is that right, Commissioner? Then we think that this will put us into the category 5, which makes a big deal. It's a big deal, you know, when
He also gave us a grant when we put that wing on too, several years ago.
correct. That's correct. So
They've been good to us.
yeah, that's just good FYI of Christie Houston. If you know anybody on the board, please thank them and say thank you very much.
What kind of roof is on that building?
There's
Is it flat?
built up, it's flat, it's got rubber, TPO, metal, built up, ballasted, built up roof. It's about, there's probably about 20 sections of roof up there, and it looks like a different type of roof on there's about 6 different kinds of roof.
I know the mayor's even brought it up. He's not a fan of flat roofs, so that's the reason I bring it up. I didn't know if there's one, if we're,
There's 5 different elevations from addition to addition. The front wing, the wing that he said that may be under warranty, that's not included in this part of the project.
Okay.
That's still got probably 5+ years.
That may have been what he was referring to. And
I
then
think everything else looks
where the-
like it's
Yeah,
well over 20
definitely in a
years.
nursing home, we don't want mold or anything else.
Is this being pitched, or is it just a new membrane roof?
I'm saying new membrane.
Right, the engineer is probably going to recommend a fully adhered EPDM, like a 20-year, just a black rubber roof, basically, with a 20-year warranty, 60 mil thick. 60 mil thick,
Oh.
not price.
I won't be in the roofing business.
At least on that job.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Did you say Christie Houston was willing to go on a partnership basis on it? On
Yeah, they
part of the
contribute. They go 50/50 with us on
Okay.
it, you know.
Matching
So we
funds.
told them it's going to run
Not on
close
the
to $1
roof.
million. I'm sorry?
Not on the
Not on the roof.
No.
Not on the roof. This is just the renovation
renovation.
of the old addition with new rooms, new bathrooms and showers. Unfortunately, in the agreement that was done back in the 90s, Carol, Steve, and I'm sure all of you remember, Alan, when I was on the commission, it was in such a bad state. We got tired of just funneling more and more dollars into it. So we said, let's just give it to them, give it to the board, either it sinks or swims. If it sinks, then we'll sell it. And so over the last couple of decades, they've been able to revive it. They've got money in the bank. It's done well. Back when I left the commission in '98, we had 0 stars, and now we're 4.5 stars. So
You get to 5.
we can get to 5. I believe that we can.
We did at one
yeah.
time. We were 5.
But in that agreement, we didn't give them the property nor the building. So that's why we're stuck with the roof. Any
Many
questions?
years ago, it's interesting to know some of the history of community care. Back around the turn of the century of 1900, they would be in their rooms and they would have boards up or bars up that they could not leave their room. It was like a jail.
Yeah.
And now, look what we have. Good management.
Good facility.
That's good for some.
Okay, so you'll probably keep us updated on that, or you just gonna take it straight to community care, or what? What we need to do? We need to do something with
Well,
500,000, I guess.
The architect's gonna come back to Ben. We need to get a price.
We just need an agreement signed to secure the architect. He's operated at 6%,
Yes.
just a standard.
That's what we need to sign. I just need permission to sign that from the committee.
Okay, do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion on the architect?
You're good with this, Ben?
Richard Ricks.
You're good with him? You
Yes, sir, I've used
familiar enough to reach out?
many times.
And 6% of the
Standard.
scope is...
Standard fee. Yes, sir.
Any more discussion? If not, I guess call the roll.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes. Okay. Next on the agenda, request from Chris Braxton regarding land on Singer Florence Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bratcher, many of you have known Mr. Bratcher for a while. He used to be vice mayor for the city. He's now in the real estate business, and he approached the mayor's office last month sometime, and he said there's a piece of property that we purchased, the county has purchased down on the corner of Singer Road and Florence. And there's a piece of property, it's kind of a triangle on a piece of property adjacent to where he owns. And then he tried to convince us that he said it was only half an acre, but I think Mr. Sandler's been doing some research on it, and it's more than a half an acre. Is that
Well,
right?
he was saying it's about .4, so it's a half acre.
A half
Yeah.
acre, okay.
It's on the corner, going toward the Dollar General store. There's a little ditch line that you can see. I don't know if can you see it on that map? The ditch line,
Is it on our panel? I don't think it is.
I don't think we loaded, is it loaded on y'all's map? I don't think it's loaded. I'll show you this way. All right. So here's some different renderings of it or whatever, but the sewer comes through this ditch line and goes down Singer Road into the front of it. This is a space that he's asking. His property goes from the curve across from Dollar General here at the back of the Florence Market, you know, that's there.
That he used
All
to
the way
own.
back down to the corner. Yeah, he used to own the Florence Market right there. So he's asked us about that. It's actually a ditch line right there. We can use it. I mean, it's part of our land that's there. It's not like a givable, you know, type thing. When he first called about it, I was aggravating him and said, no, we got great plans for that piece of half-acre property. We want to put an ATM machine on it. And anyway. And it's worth $500,000, you know, but the property out there, the value is about $35,000 an acre to $40,000 an acre. So, you know, $25,000 if you wanted to sell that corner to help a neighbor out, I guess.
Square his property.
And square his property up, that's fine. If not, I mean, we can put a culvert in there whenever we get ready to do it and dirt over it and use it ourselves. The sewer line still goes up that ditch line and crosses over the railroad track, under the railroad track over to the other property over there. But
His first request was a donation. Right. So I would like this committee to tell me if you want to make that donation. I hope not.
Since we auctioning off the house on that piece of property.
That's correct.
that is May the 16th, the
May
night
16th.
of our full commission. It'd be that morning at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Auction the house, and of course it has to be moved and all that, but we can't put signs out before 2 weeks prior to the auction, so.
Okay. If we're doing that for the house on that property, then I think we should follow the same suit if we want to get rid of that property and auction it off. If we want to get rid of it, we don't have no use for it, but I wouldn't say give it to him. I would say we need to follow the same pattern of what we're doing on that house.
Well, I've got just a different opinion about that, Mr. Chairman, but we can use the property and not sell it at all. You don't have to sell it if you don't want to. But if we are, then I would suggest we price that. I don't think in an auction standpoint for a half an acre, either those adjoining property owners are going to be your top two that's going to be interested in that property.
How many adjoining property owners?
It's just us and him.
Him. So nobody else would have access to it, so it's us and
Yeah.
him. He's the only one who would have an interest in that
Right.
half an acre.
So what would we use it for? I think you may have mentioned something earlier.
Well, I mean, Mr. Bratcher could use it for retention pond, detention pond. He could use it for that, or he could square his property up, which it would square up his property. It also gives him access, depending on what he sells it for, sewer. You know, goes up that ditch line and then goes down the front of our property here on Florence. So, you know, it could be, may need it for sewer.
Well, what would we use it for, potentially?
Parking, whatever we want to use it for, yeah.
Yeah. And
So we could need it at some point.
We could.
We
haven't
need it, don't
designed
sell
this.
it.
We haven't
We-
even designed this.
That's right, that's right.
I just can't see how we would consider selling it. I certainly don't see how we could sell it to the first one who makes an offer.
Yeah,
When this other gentleman showed up to buy this house and we made him,
right. Went through
we
the
were
auction
making him
process.
show up at an auction.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there hasn't been an offer made on the property. We're just bringing it to you because
also-
there's been a request, you know, of
For the donation.
donation.
I make a motion to deny separating any portion of this property until we have a design.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, historic courthouse renovation.
Members, it should be on your tablet. We got numbers also in this week from Mr. Klein on the renovation of the courthouse. And so if you haven't had time to look at that, please look at it. I think that, in my opinion, the lighting is estimate option A and option B are way too high. Everything else seems to be in line with me. But I think we need to put it out to bid anyway.
You say the option, in your opinion, option A and B on the right is tie?
Yes, sir.
Where's option C?
Putting it out to bid.
Well, I was looking at this, and it's, some of the possible alternatives to save cost is, I think there's a plan to put an acoustic ceiling in this room. And if we don't do that, that would save us about 10,000.
I got a few ideas on that too.
Yeah.
You can get these acoustic ceiling tiles that we can place in there, and then there's also the eggshell type acoustic matting that you can put on the side of the walls for like a sound room or something, and we can put that across the top. Now, the vent's already been rechanged, it's already been redone, but it hasn't done a lot as far as
Making it quieter.
making it quieter. So also IT, and they're here, we're gonna drop those down maybe a foot more here, and we're thinking that's gonna take care of the TV sound part as well as hearing inside this room whenever the air kicks on. It didn't do much change by moving that over.
If you drop the ceiling a foot, it's gonna get into the doorway, won't it?
No, not the ceiling. We're checking these cords.
The two speakers.
The speakers.
Yes, ma'am.
Two speakers.
Yeah,
Will that obstruct your TV?
I talked to Lee about it. He feels pretty good about it, that it won't obstruct the view. You're going to see the microphones in the shot, but he's not overly concerned about it.
So if you're sitting over at Carroll, just.
Well, knock the glare off, you know.
But Mayor, they're getting ready to bid this the end of May, correct, for the courthouse anyway, all
correct.
aspects of it? Because the brick painting was another thing, the $211,000 on it, that was out of whack, we think.
Yeah, and he felt it was tough as well. But the two additions that were built in 1962 onto the courthouse, the brick never matched. It was actually, from what Greg Tucker told me today, the brick was actually kind of yellow brick, and they just painted it. So we have to, every so many years, is that correct, Ben? We have to paint it, and then after we retuck it, we have to paint it, and then you got to get somebody with a little painter's brush to come in and paint the white mortar joints. And I believe, Commissioner, I think you've done that, right?
Did years ago.
You did it last time we painted it, right? You was part of that. I don't know how you do that, but, you know, that was tedious work. I've been getting mad and doing that.
So it would help the television audience if we had those special ceiling tiles, is that correct?
Yeah.
As far as hearing?
And it's probably just through this section right here where the ventilation system is, to reduce that. But I think the whole thing will be ready, according to Bart, about mid-May to the latter part of end of May to bid the whole project out.
Sure.
The project this big, we should bid this out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we will. We just need, we'll need permission to move forward. Lisa's got the money from the development fee.
So PBA's looking at the clerk.
That's correct.
PBA's looking at John at the archives. And how would this be managed? How are we suggesting?
I'm suggesting Ben in our office will
Would the
work with the architect.
With the PBA
You can send it to PBA, that'd be fine.
manage with their expertise and then have our owner's rep? I know I'm using a term that you may not be ready to hear, but I don't know what's best.
I'd like to hear what Mr. Mankin may think.
Well, I mean, would the PBA manage a remodel? I mean, I don't know.
This is kind of a small remodel from the PBA.
I don't know whether they would be interested in a remodel type.
Last time when we remodeled this courthouse, which procedure did we use?
The architect.
The architect. And we looked at it and we just
It was
managed.
the same It was the same folks.
Same architect.
Yes, sir. He's done the work inside and out. Bart Klein, or David Klein.
Yeah,
We
Bart-
just manage ourselves, didn't we?
David was killed in a car accident, but we could manage it ourselves. I feel like that, and we talked to Bart, weekly, if once we start this, it'll be daily. We're here every day. We can, between the architect and us, I think we can manage this small remodel, because it's just whoever gets the bid on putting the carpet in, down the steps, putting the bullnose in. He's got a manager also that just kind of got to takes all the measurements and stuff.
They'll have a project. Klein Swing will have a project manager that does site visits on a pretty regular basis.
And the fee structure we've discussed with them already has some of that in it, or I don't,
It's in there. It should be.
I thought we approved a fee structure with them some months ago.
We did. That's
And
correct.
did it cover documents, construction documents, and then some project oversight?
I'm sure, I haven't looked at it in a while, but I'm sure it did. They typically they do have a project manager.
I just don't-
Yeah.
David Jones watched, when I did the work, David Jones was actually the person
Yeah, that's kind of, beyond, if David Jones did that, then I think that we could probably do that.
We did, we've had painted it once since then.
that, yeah, oh, okay.
And we have, and so like I say, David Klein did that job then.
Right.
And he had a project manager that was just on, he was on, at least every other day he was here
I'll be watching it as well. I'm here at 7 getting the paper every morning, so I'm here early.
You're talking about two options, at 664 or 1645, or
On B,
going with option B, doing away with those, you're saving about $144,000.
well, absolutely, and that put us way under the 500,000. I actually, I've got 2 or 3 painter contractors that are local here that have come by and said they wanted to put a bid in, let them know when they can bid. And also, I was at the funeral home and talked to Chad Haynes, Chad, Eleanor's son.
Okay, yeah.
And as Chip's brother, he has a Murfreesboro Lighting. He does big exterior lighting, landscape lighting. And so he came this morning, met with him, and he thinks that, I didn't share with him these numbers, but he's going to give us a quote also. And I'm thinking he'll come in.
Well, when you talk about
I think he'll come in.
$144,000, you can be penny wise and pound foolish.
Well, I think he'll come in at 1/16 of what has been quoted here by Tennessee Lighting. I mean, they're the big boys. They do the bridges and the Titan Stadium and all that stuff, and they see government, they come after us. I think if we piecemeal this thing and put it out to bid, we can get some pretty good bids. Do this stuff. Ben had already purchased some LED lights, and we think that on the direct light, not the low voltage, but the big ones that are shining on the cupola and the columns, we change those out, and the light, you don't have to put the film over it to change it to pink for breast cancer and purple for Alzheimer's, et cetera. You've got the system that can do that.
Right.
So we think we can come way under that, and he's already got those fixtures sitting in his warehouse. The other thing is on the carpet. In talking with Bart, he thought that they had a mill down in Georgia that could replicate the carpet that's out here in the hall and matches what's in the chamber. He's going to bring a sample to the PVA next week, but he said, I don't think you're going to like it. He said, we may have to go back to the company in England and buy that same, if we want to buy that same lot. It's all wool. It's $314 a yard. I would recommend, the carpet in here is still perfectly good, because we only use it once a month. I would recommend that we go with a synthetic, just plain carpet, up and down the steps, put the brass bull nose on the steps, and where it would blend and flush right into that. And Ben, you think that the synthetic would wear even better than the wool, actually?
Should.
It should. We should.
Do we need to make a decision on this?
Yes, sir, we need to
Okay,
get this project going.
What if we look at, we need to preserve the integrity of this building for future generations.
Correct.
There's a lot of history here.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I was saying when I said about being penny wise, pound foolish.
Right.
But
I think we're
what
doing
about looking at maybe the $50,000 saving about the pavers and everything? That might be a pretty good savings right there.
Well, I think,
But go ahead and include and take out the specialty ceiling tile, but go along with the option B lighting package and take $60,000 off of it.
and if we get a bid cheaper than that,
Right.
the B,
Right.
then we can go that direction.
So, I think that, I've got grandchildren, a lot of us have got grandchildren here, and I think that the history of this building ought to be preserved.
Well, if you saw Loudoun County's courthouse earlier this week, it was on fire. It was a total loss.
Is this on the historical record?
Yes, ma'am, it was. It was up near Knoxville. Lieutenant
I'm talking about this one.
Ours is, that's correct. Matter of fact, first thing Monday morning, when I got into the office, I called Mr. Elam, Risk Management, and I said, reach out to our insurance company, Travelers. They have an endorsement for historical replacement, cost Wayne. And we can add that on, that would, in the event of a loss, water loss or fire damage or anything, that the replacement cost, it's not a lot of money to add that on, but it sends in the artists and contractors that a normal replacement cost policy would not pay for. And so he was reaching out to him.
Is that functional?
How do you feel about that?
I'm sorry.
Feel about
Do they call
what I
that
was talking about?
functional replacement?
Yes.
With his expertise, I'm ready to make a motion to approve, but
Not to exceed such and
But I'd
such.
like to what is the committee of choice? Is it just you two or just you making choices? Who's looking at bids?
No.
I mean, I don't want to micromanage this from this
No,
point.
I want Ben, because he knows this building as well. I mean, he knows what's behind this wall.
Sure.
He knows where the air conditionings are. You've been working on this building for how many years?
I think do we need to see the
Just say what-
bids or do we, Mr. Chairman, how do you?
We put it out to bid and let it come into the mayor's office and
Yeah.
they'll
Oh, yeah, I agree.
I'm sorry, these are just budgetary.
Correct.
numbers.
Right, right. Y'all gonna solicit bids and so forth.
I think they can run this small project.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
But
So you needed a motion, maybe just go ahead and send this out.
Proceed on.
Proceed on, put it out to bid.
Proceed on with
you
the
will open
project.
the bids? Is there enough oversight, just you two?
Well, I chair the
Purchasing committee.
purchasing committee, which you're on the purchasing
Right.
committee.
Okay, so the purchasing will open.
Yeah, purchasing committee will open.
I have 100% confidence in Ben and your stewardship of it, so I'm all good with you guys managing it. But I'm glad to hear there's a group of,
Yeah, the
a
purchasing
committee
committee,
looking at
I mean,
bids.
they all come in, when we say that they're due, they come in, Vicky, she doesn't want anybody to touch them, they're behind her desk, and she brings them up, and she hands them out, we all, the purchasing committee votes.
Klein Swing, they'll supervise the bid opening as well to make sure that we're getting what we're paying for. And they'll make sure it's.
Well, I move that we proceed forward and send it out to bid.
Got a motion to proceed forward, put it out for bids on the historic courthouse renovation. That's what we'll call it.
With all options like it is, right? Option A or option B.
Well, the bid may come in different.
Or go with the option A.
It's gonna be about that investment to Lake May before it goes out to bid anyway.
Okay, I got a motion, I have a second, to that effect?
Second.
Got a second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Okay, under any other business, we got the contract.
Yes, sir, I've got two things. Matter of fact, while Brian's still here with his IT department, they've kind of estimated what it's going to cost once we move them over there. It'll be in next year's budget, okay, by the time we start this process. But just to move all the wires, to move IT out of this building, we're looking at close to $600,000. That's pretty close, right? I didn't think there was that much money in wires, but until our computers won't come up, right? Okay. So we'll address that issue once we get started, because there'll be a lot of construction that has to be done, and then probably next year's budget will come back and ask for more money at that point in time.
FF&E too, I think, Mayor, was above the 2.85, just.
Yeah, correct, and furniture. Furniture and fixtures, right. Okay, the second thing under other business is the Rockville lease agreement. This body gave us the green light to go ahead at the last meeting. Basically, I have a copy from our attorney, and I sent it to the president, Mr. Travis Brown, and I talked to him late this afternoon. Basically, the lease agreement is, we were concerned about keeping the property underneath the Rockville store, and we're just going to give them the building. It was recommended, instead of giving them the building, we're going to lease it to them for 50 years for $1 a year. And I'll make the donation for the lease for the next 50 years. I'll make the donation of $50, okay?
I'll take it.
Okay, I'll do that.
I'll donate $1.
You donate, well, maybe everybody wants their name on it. Everybody wants $1. Okay. We can get 21. We get 21 commissioners to kick in $1.
I do 1 year.
Okay, you do 1 year, all right.
Sounds like
Also, we want to make sure, because they are a 501c3,
Yes.
that they carry at least $1 million premises liability, and name the county as additional named insured, because it will actually be sitting on our property. Okay, and then, because we're going to have a lot of people around it when we move the new convenience center across the street behind it. So we just want to make sure that we're protected from a liability standpoint, and that's no problem for them. Okay, but at least we'll get this thing signed and moved on. If the committee says okay, then we'll go ahead and get this thing leased. Final approval, subject to final approval by our attorney and their attorney.
And I will, we'll have to have the board
And
actually
your
vote
board,
before we
yeah.
sign, but yeah.
You
Are we
know,
just approving leasing it to them instead of giving it to them?
That's correct. What you're doing is approving this lease at $1 for 50 years, and them being required to carry the liability insurance for $1 million, and also naming Rutherford County as additional named insured.
You need a motion to
Yeah, we
approve
need a
that action, so
motion.
moved.
got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Do we need to take it back to the full commission for information on it?
I think this lease, probably this motion will probably just go on, just put it through your report.
Okay.
Anybody has any questions?
No discussion, call the roll.
You did say that was subject to approval of the commission and the Rockville Historical Society.
Rockville Historical Society, Inc.
Yeah, it's eight.
You know, I don't think our commission need to
Okay.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes. Any other business come before the committee tonight? Right, they'll take a motion to adjourn. All right.